So again, hi, I'm Will. For those of you that haven't met me before, I think I've met some of you. I'm an enterprise lecturer, but my background is sort of innovation. I used to work for big companies, helping them design new products and ideas. I've also worked my own management consultancy. I ran that for 10 years, helping sort of startup businesses, especially in sort of third sector. So people that are doing it for not-for-profit, for charities. And I also worked in Cambodia for a year, and I worked with sort of 16 different NGOs, so 16 different charities, on everything from like a food security project on micro entrepreneurs, which involved someone was making Angry Bird money boxes in the middle of this field in Cambodia, which was incredibly weird, through to working out finance spreadsheets for how do you value a pregnant pig, and does it cost more or less than a male pig and things like that. So I've done quite a lot, bits and pieces. The plan today really, and for those of you that weren't here last time, is it's boring if I just listen to myself. So I'll encourage you to get involved and ask questions, or I'll ask you questions. And the idea today is, the concept of today is, how do we take an idea and how do we move that into something that can become a business? Now, I know some people on here have already got their own business, mentioning no names, and absolutely know this topic inside out. And I think some of you perhaps aren't there. So I sort of picked a middle ground, and I'm going to talk about sort of almost the practicality of how, if you've got a great idea, how do you turn it into a business approach? And the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to talk about 3 big areas. And I think this is the thing that a lot of people forget about. People tend to get very focused on their idea and think about, well, I've got this thing that makes me unique, or I can do this that no one else can, and it's really important. But actually, they forget about market, the model, and the money. And the concept is that without these things, you don't have a business. You might have a great idea, but you don't have a business. And so the approach, I guess, that we're going to think about, and what we're going to do is we're going to take an idea, and we're going to develop it over the course of this session and get you to sort of chip in and help me with it, really. And my idea is that, I don't know. I am going to, what am I going to do? I am going to give away umbrellas. So I'm going to set up, my idea is, we live in Scotland. One of the things we know with Scotland is it rains a lot, okay? Or the weather changes a lot. And what that means is you have to dress up a lot, but you have to wear lots of clothes. So my game-changing thing is I'm going to launch the Glasgow umbrella scheme, okay? And my idea is that outside every pub, club, shop, anything like that, there'll be a basket of free umbrellas that anyone can take away. So no one ever gets wet again under Will's Glasgow umbrella idea. Okay, so that is my idea. Free umbrellas for everyone to use in Glasgow. That's it. Okay. What's the problem with that idea? Or what are the problems that you guys can see with that idea?
Hi, Will. If I may, I think it's free.
Right. So why is that a problem?
If you use the umbrella to advertise for something, probably you can get somebody pay you.
Okay, but why is that a problem for a business? It's a great idea. Everyone wants a free umbrella, don't they?
Yeah, but what's in it for you?
I make them happy.
Oh yeah, okay.
so go on. So distill what you're thinking. What's the issue there?
Yeah, it's free. That's it. And there's nothing like, the freemium model, so you can start free, then get people to pay for extra things. But it's just an umbrella, and people won't return it anyway.
Okay.
At home, forget about it. They don't care. It's only, I don't know how many pounds, £5, £10.
Okay.
They won't care about returning it to the place where they took it from.
Okay. So what's your question to me then, Ella?
What's in it for you? Where's your revenue stream?
Fantastic. So to simply put it simply, number one is, how do I make money out of it? Yeah. Cool. And you've already given me some options. We'll talk about those later. Okay, so number one is, if I'm giving them away for free, the question should be, how do I make money? Okay, cool. Anything else that might stop it becoming a business?
Wouldn't you be paying out a lot of money in the first instance for all these umbrellas and the service and advertising and so on?
Fantastic. So straight away, so we've got two challenges here. Number one is I've got no money coming in theory at the moment for my idea. And number two, as Craig points out, it's going to be quite an expensive approach to do. So straight away, we've got high costs and no revenue. Anything else that might be a challenge around this umbrella idea?
A lot of people just keep the umbrellas and don't put them back for other people to use.
Oh, I don't. Okay. So what happens with the umbrellas? Yeah. So I haven't been clear about what happens with the umbrellas. Okay. Any other issues with my brilliant idea to give away free umbrellas in Glasgow? So we're getting you guys to think like judges now. So if you're entering a competition, what would be the questions you would ask around the market, the model, and the money? Okay, interested. So we've gone straight for the money. We'll talk about that. But there's something bigger that I think people really struggle to think about. And it's something that we all leap to an assumption about, is fundamentally this first part, this idea of market. Okay. So when we think about it, I want to give away free umbrellas in Glasgow. Okay. The first question that I, as a judge, or if I was looking as an investor, would be, do people actually want umbrellas? Is this a problem? And that's one of the questions you should always start asking yourself. Is it a problem fundamentally? Why could we argue that this isn't a problem? So I'm saying, well, everyone needs an umbrella, but why might it not be a problem?
You only need an umbrella sometimes, not all the time.
Brilliant. So it's not something you're going to use every day. You might use it once in a while. Okay, so that's one. So yes, it might be a problem for 5% of the time. And then the other 95% of the time, I've got these umbrellas cluttering up shopways or whatever it might be. Okay, cool. What might be another problem around this market, whether there is a market or not? What would tell me whether there is a demand or not?
Market research.
Market research. So that's the answer. But one of the key things you might think about is that I've got this great idea. I'm going to give away umbrellas. But is it a problem? Well, it might be a problem for a small part of the time. But fundamentally, also, if it was a problem, why isn't someone else doing it? And that's the other question you should always stop yourself and ask. Okay, I know I'm brilliant. Okay, and we take that for granted. But if it is a massive demand in a marketplace that no one else is fulfilling, why aren't they doing it? And it might be, as Craig says, you know, this concept isn't needed at time. It might be that there's not a problem. And the way you get around this is a level of market research. But you also should be sitting down and thinking about your primary target market. And what we're going to talk about is this idea of having a primary focus. Why would we focus on a certain kind of market rather than trying to target everyone with our product or our idea?
Is it easier to understand a target group of people as opposed to understanding everybody who's very widely?
Okay, so you're right about easier, but in business terms, what do we need to think about? What does underpin in all business decisions?
I'll have a look.
Sorry, I've got background noise, but I think it's the target market and how where you can fit in that target market. What is your positioning?
Okay. So again, you're both of you are like 3 steps along.
Okay.
Why? So the fundamental question is, why do we have a target market?
To be focused, because when you prepare your model, it has to fit your intended market or audience.
Brilliant. So, but why?
Why? Yeah, because otherwise you're gonna fail.
Are you?
You're not gonna cater for their needs. You need to understand them.
Okay.
As Craig said, you need to understand who you are selling for, and then maybe decide which one is more suitable for you as a brand or as a product or as a service.
Okay, but why? So I think Nipun, did you have something?
Yeah, I was trying to say the demands in the market.
Okay, so you can identify demand, but why are we picking a target market? Why are we including some people and excluding other people? It's a simple answer. You guys, again, you're going to advance. Simply put, why?
Because you are limited in your resources, aren't you?
Okay, so why? Why does that matter?
Because you can't cater for everyone, can't you? You can't just, it's just
okay.
Impossible for a startup. So to penetrate the market, you need to focus, to have a focus, to have an idea.
But why?
To generate the profit.
Yes, so profit will come out of this. But why do we target some people? You're all dancing around the answer, and it's really frustrating. And when I tell you, you'll all go, well, I said that, but you haven't. Why do we target a single point in the market or a single group of people in the market or a single set of businesses? You've all sort of said something related to it, but why?
Because I think it's a basic step for I mean to say that identify the market is the basic step for any business or any idea, because without users or without any concerned persons, then what is the point of starting it?
Yeah, absolutely. You're totally right, and we'll come on to that conversation later.
Okay.
But is it Kieran? So why do we have to pick only a certain part of the market that we're going to target? You're like,
I basically mean just to start, because you have some sort of things that you have to start, right? That's
why?
why.
Okay, so you have to start somewhere, but why don't we just sell it to everyone? Why do we only sell it?
Because if it's everyone, that's brilliant, because your market is a little bit huge. But initially every person's may not be your market. That's why to choose your specific market or to go for the needy people, that's the first step. Then after that you can expand.
Fantastic. So again, you've talked about how we're going to do it, so that's brilliant. Allow us closest this concept of we've got limited resources. So if we've got limited resources, why should we only pick a small set of people or a small target market to start with, or a target market to start with? What does it allow us to do?
To get the most out of our resources.
Brilliant. And in business terms, does anyone know what that's called? How we maximize resources?
Efficiency.
Efficiency, yeah, and effectiveness. And the calculation is this concept of return on investment. If we put money in, how much money do we get back? So you're all right, and you're absolutely, you've almost gone down the road a little bit, but we all assume that you have to have a target market. But the reason we have to think about it is, if we tried to advertise to everyone, it would cost us a lot of money for a lot of people that aren't interested in our product. So for example, if I advertised my umbrellas in Edinburgh or across Scotland, and they were only available in Glasgow, a lot of that is wasted money. So your target market is about how do you use resources that you've got to get the maximum effect or money back on them. And that's known as return on investment. Brilliant. I mean, it's great. You all know what to do with the target market, and you probably won't learn a mega amount now, but why we do it has to be top of mind. We only have a certain amount of money. We have to use it in a very wise way, and that's really important. And one of the things that lets a lot of people down with their business idea is that you try to talk to too many people, or try to target too many people, or too much of an area, and you spread your money far too thinly. And that's something to think about. And again, sitting in this sort of concept of the marketplace, we have 3 sets of sort of different approaches. And I don't want to turn this into a business like seminar really, but I think it's really interesting to think about these different ways to sell your product in different models totally. So the first thing is we have something called B2C, which is business to consumer or business to customer, depending on where you're from. Then we have something called B2B, and then we have something called B2G, which is perhaps something else we think about. So if I was setting up a marketing agency, sorry, let's go back to, ignore that. If we go back to my umbrella idea, so my target market, should I be targeting with my umbrella idea, B2C, B2B, or B2G? Who should I target?
Probably B2G.
So Craig says B2G, okay. Anyone else?
I would say B2B.
B2B, okay. Anyone think B2C? No, okay, right. So why would we target B2B? Why would I target my business to someone else's business?
Because they might, yeah, as I said, probably advertise on it or use it somehow to market their products. So you can get some revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you, I don't know about B2C, but because if you want to target the customer and the customer will be paying you for the umbrella and you want it to be free, then it's not B2C because it's free.
Okay. So what's interesting, and absolutely, and this is one of the fundamental things, and it comes back to what was said earlier, is where is my money coming from? Where my money is coming from tells me whether it's B2C, B2B, B2G, okay? If my umbrellas are free, the customer or the people that use it or the consumer of that umbrella is not my target market, okay? We know, or we can assume that if the umbrella is free and it's raining outside, then people will know to pick one up and use it. We might have to put a few signs up, but that's not the business model. So B2B, as we said there, might be if I'm going to get funding from other businesses that are going to sponsor them or something like that, or an umbrella manufacturer, that might be an approach. Craig, how would it be B2G then? How would I make that leap to business to government approach?
Well, if I sidestep the recent news about the councils, I would have thought you go to the council, local authorities, and you have that as have them provide this kind of service for, you know, citizens.
So absolutely. So one might be that we could view it as a civic service, as it's something that councils must provide. You know, it might actually reduce the cost of them having to build bus shelters or covered walkways or things like that. So there might be mechanisms that actually for a government, they could fund it out of a certain approach, or it might be a way to improve the areas. So then my model goes to business B2G. So one of the things to think about when you take your idea, we've got why do we need to pick our target market, and we've got our idea. But one of the things you need to think about is where is my money coming from? Okay, where is my money coming from? And that then dictates who you're talking to and the conversations you have. A slight aside, if you are talking to governments, governments tend to have very strict processes, very clear tendering processes. So you have to put a bid in and you have to compete with each other and things like this. And often it's very much done around price. So you might have the best brand in the world. The government doesn't particularly care. They want to know that if I give you £100,000, are you going to do the most with that money? So the way that you would talk to a government is a certain kind of way. If you're going to talk to another business, what do you think the other business is going to ask you? So I've got my 3 umbrellas. I'm going to go into all the local shops and say, would you like to sponsor my umbrellas? What's the first thing the other business is going to say?
What's in it for me?
Fabulous. What's in it for me? And I will turn around and say, we're going to have a lovely time. They're going to be a lovely shade of green, and think of how many people that will stay dry because of it. What's the business going to say next then?
Looks like there's nothing in it for me.
Well, yes, because everyone's staying dry. What are you really asking when you say what's in it for me? What are they actually asking? By the way, you can put it in the chat if you're going to be shy. That's absolutely fine. I've got Emma helping me with that. But what's
value added?
Yeah, but fundamentally, what are they asking? When you talk about value add, what are they really saying to me with my umbrella idea?
Why would I be working with you? Because
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And what are they looking for me to tell them?
The value. Because
yes.
They can buy the umbrellas themselves and probably brand themselves then on it.
Okay. So they could do it themselves. Fantastic. But think about the terminology we've just previously discussed around target market. How can we replicate that language that I said is a business term in this concept around business to business?
Return on investment.
Fantastic. They're going to ask me, if I give you £100,000, what do I get out of it? And what they really mean is, how is that going to add value, as we said there, but really, how is it going to grow my business? So when you talk B2G, you would talk about civic responsibility and things like that, but also tendering process. B2B is, how does the partnership that we're going to have build my business and increase my return on investment? Okay, and that's really important, because when you're doing B2B, it's much more of a rational approach. You should be explaining how you add value, whether it be brand awareness, money, anything like that. So B2C, if I was going to suddenly go, well, no one wants to pay for my 3 umbrellas, so I'm just going to charge £1 and I'm going to make them out of cardboard so they're environmentally friendly, and I'm going to set up the Shepherd Umbrella Glasgow code, whatever that might be. If I was going to talk to a consumer, someone to use my umbrella, would they want to talk about return on investment to me?
Not really.
No, they don't value for money.
Right. So there might be a subtle sort of conversation around value for money. For that £1, what do I get? But more often, it's going to be around an emotional conversation. So the value to them is an emotional thing. So if I was going to sell these umbrellas and my target market is 18 to 22-year-olds, and they just have to pay £1 for this umbrella, how could I sell it to them? What could I tell them?
I think it's need driven. If there's the need,
Yep.
You will be selling them the umbrellas, but if there's no need, that's it.
Fantastic. So brilliant. So it depends. The whole answer is it depends, but I need to find out what their pleasure and what their pain is. So I might be able to target them with the Shepherd Glasgow Umbrella Company, which I've just invented. It means you have to wear less coats when you go out. When you go clubbing, you can wear what you want and look your best, knowing that if it rains, you can always have an umbrella there. Okay, so what is their problem? How can I help them in their life? So your B2C looks about, how do I solve a problem, or how do I make them happier? Your B2B is, how do I improve their return on investment? How do I improve their business through partnering with me? And B2G is very much around, how do I get the maximum impact with the least amount of money spent? So 3 very different conversations. And fundamentally, it doesn't really matter which one you pick. You can pick even 3 of them. Like, one of the biggest advertisers, or one of the biggest organizations that pays for advertising in the UK is the UK government, because every council, every department, all of that spends money on advertising. But if you were setting up an ad agency, you probably wouldn't think about it that way. So if you have an idea, think about where the money is coming from, and then couch that in an approach that thinks about, right, how do I have these different ideas and how do we have these different conversations? So we've got a market, our model, and our money. So our market we've chosen because we want to get our maximum return on investment. We've then thought about who are our partners or where is our money coming from. And that informs how we speak to these people, whether it's an emotional engagement solving a problem, whether it's return on investment, or whether it's getting the biggest bang for the buck, which is a thing. And so that's really the sort of straightforward things. And I think, you know, some of the conversations you said there, you've got a good understanding, but we always need to come back to why do we do these things? And this is the step of, we know we need to do them, but why do we need to do them? Does anyone have any questions up until now? No? If you do, stick them in the chat or you know, and we'll get to them. So brilliant, fantastic. We know our target market. And for this, what we're going to do is the government won't fund it and B2B won't fund it. So I'm going to have to sell B2C. So I'm now going to I have to find a way to make money from my umbrellas, because I still think it's a brilliant idea. And so the next step to this, and where, again, when we're looking at this from whether we're an investor or whether you're applying for competition, the next step is really important. And that's this idea of actually dividing up your market into 2 different approaches. And this applies mostly to B2C, okay, because it's an emotional engagement. And it's something, again, some of you probably already know, but hopefully you'll learn a little bit, and some of you won't know at all. Historically, we've divided people up about something called demographics, and it's about what they are. Can anyone give me an example of what a demographic might be?
So we can look at generations. Generations.
Generations. Okay, that's
No?
Yes and no. So
Okay.
that's a good. We'll come back to that because that's a great example of something. But what might be simple in generations?
Okay, gender.
Gender. Oh, again, maybe that's something. So we'll come back to that one as well. So
Age.
Age is one. Yeah. Sorry, Craig.
Is it types of people? Different types, different.
What do you mean types?
The different kinds of. You know, I haven't thought that through properly. Never mind.
Yeah. Right. So again, this is all open to negotiation. Okay, there is no hard and fast set rules. Fundamentally, demographics are things that you can count. Okay, so your age, or where you live, or how tall you are, or how much you weigh. And what they do is, if you, in the UK, we have a survey, we have a census survey every 4 years, where you get a form and you have to fill it in and you have to say, you know, how much money you earn, what your job title is, all of these sorts of things. So we classify people by these things. So historically, we would have said, my umbrella company is going to target females aged 18 to 25. Cool. And that would have been the approach for choosing the people that we're going to sell to. What's the challenge with using demographics as a mechanism to define who we're going to sell to?
Can you repeat the question, Will?
I'll put it in a better way because I've put that horribly. It's my fault. So if I was to choose, I'm going to target 18-year-old females. Is there a problem with choosing that target market, 18-year-old females?
For the umbrellas?
Yes, for the umbrellas. But simpler than that, if any product, if I was to target 18-year-old females, what is the challenge with that?
Well, I think your target market is too narrow, or it's too small.
Okay, so first thing, yeah, brilliant. So great thing, Kieran, is it might be too small. So that might be the issue. But there is a fundamental issue with a demographic selection of that. Where
to find them?
So where to find them might be one. Again, we've gone down the road a little bit more than we need to. Come back to simple things. if I was going to target 18-year-old females, what is a problem with that?
How to reach them?
Okay, so I agree with that. But there's a simpler fundamental problem.
Okay. Why? Yeah, it's the question of why, for example.
Okay, so we'll assume that there is a reason why, and we'll assume that I can get access to them. But what is the problem with choosing 18-year-old females? And again, it's one of those you'd all go, well, yeah, obviously. But that's what I'm trying to ask you.
Is it because you're excluding everybody else?
No.
Yes.
So yes, you are right. Absolutely. But that's not what I'm looking for. Okay. It could be that I'm choosing 45-year-old males. So I'll put you out your misery a little bit. If I was an 18-year-old female living in Glasgow, would I be exactly the same as an 18-year-old female that lived in Dunfermline? You're all shaking your head. Why not? Because they're 18-year-old females. That's who I'm targeting.
No, there's a lot of other things.
So what do you mean there's lots of other things?
Culture, not just this. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
So what sort of things? So culture might be one. What might be another thing that you might, if you're an 18-year-old female, what could you be doing with your life? Well, you might be working, you might have a job, you might have a family, you might be married, you might have children, you might be single, you might have be at university, you might be traveling the world, you might be a yoga instructor, you might be working in a bank. Historically, we've gone 18-year-old female, or we've gone 18 to 25-year-old females in Glasgow. The problem is that covers such a range of people that it's almost impossible to target them. Because how could I target them? If I have an 18-year-old that has found the love of their life and they've got married and had children, and they've got 2 children by the age of 18, they are going to have very different need states and wants and needs than someone that's 18, been to school, studied, and just started university. And this is the challenge with demographics, is it tells you what they are, but doesn't tell you how they behave or anything like that. So when we think about breaking people down into different groups, we like everyone else to fit into a nice little group. But if someone says to you, well, I'm female versus male, that has real challenges, because what does female mean and what does male mean? Or am I, just because I'm a woman, does that mean I'm the same as all women? Well, no, because we all have so many sides to our personality. So it becomes quite interesting. So demographics we've always used, and the reason we've always used them is because they are easy. I can ask you your age and then I've got my demographic. But as you were shaking your heads and saying no, we've proved in about 2 seconds that they're absolutely useless. So demographics, if all you're going to do is target demographics, you're not going to have the best return on investment that you can. Because what they are doesn't define who they are. And this is a fundamental truth now. And this is something we're getting better at understanding with how people behave. A first-year business student at UWS, no matter what age, is going to have more in common than just 2 18-year-old girls from Glasgow, because they are experiencing a similar set of events. So one of the things that we're starting to push people to do is, when you come up with your target market, is to start thinking about, well, who they are and how they behave, what hobbies they have. Can you give me a good reason that we should pursue psychographics over demographics? Why does that give us more? No, cancel that. We start again. Why is it more powerful targeting who they are rather than what they are? In your eyes, why would that be a better way? I'm aware this is quite a challenging conversation. So let's rewind our lives to 3 years ago. Okay, so take who you are now and go back 3 years. Are you the same person as you were 3 years ago? No, but sorry, go on, Kieran.
No, absolutely not.
Why not?
Because my belief at that time, my personality, my lifestyle is completely different at this moment. And before 3 years, it's completely different. That's why I can't be the same person, because my belief systems is completely changed within this period of 3 years. That's why.
Brilliant. I couldn't answer that better myself. So what's really interesting is your behaviors and your belief systems change and evolve. That's part of being a human. Demographics is a really blunt tool that says, really, you don't change. You're either a male or you're female, beyond other things, but fundamentally. Psychographics says that we target your behavior because that's the behavior you're demonstrating at the moment. So if we were into playing netball and we targeted people that like netball, the age is irrelevant because we know they have something in common. But that person might also then decide not to play netball anymore. So we stop targeting them. And this is the thing, we target around the hobbies because your belief system changes, we change. So we pick a psychographic approach and we could care about who they are. So for example, if I was to target 18-year-olds in Glasgow as a demographic approach for my umbrella company, the challenge might be that they might never go to the city centre because they might live too far away, or they might not ever go when it rains because they just don't want to do that. So my psychographic might be, rather than targeting an 18-year-old female, I'm going to target people that go shopping every Saturday in Glasgow, no matter what the weather is, or go shopping twice a month, on a Saturday. That tells me who they are. Doesn't matter whether they're male, female, all of that. They have a set of activities that tally with my product idea that I can deal with. So the problem relates to their behavior or their hobby, not to who they are. Now, we mentioned earlier this idea of gender, and what was the other one? Gender and generations. That was it. Generations. So generations are really interesting. And do you know what? It's one of these things that's really advanced and really good. And we all have these sort of concepts of generations. The reality is that it's not particularly easy to measure. So people can't even agree when a generation starts and stops. And also it's a social construct. And this is one of these things that what we have now over time will develop. And I might say that I'm generation X, but then someone might say I'm this person. It's a bit like, yeah, so it's different approaches. So generations are fantastic. And I think we'll get better at that. But again, it's trying to take a demographic viewpoint of the world. You were born at this point, therefore you act in this way. Well, the reality is you could be born, you've probably got brothers and sisters that, or family members that are roughly the same age as you, but you are probably totally different to them. So therefore, generations are too generalized across population data. They are also focused on the Western, well, the American Western European lifestyle. They totally tend to ignore cultural issues. They tend to ignore things like poverty or wealth. So they're a good start, but I wouldn't pin your hopes on them. Gender is another one. And this is something that can be quite controversial. Sex tends to be a biological fact. Fact loosely, again, it's all open to negotiation. Gender, in theory, in actual theory, is a social construct. You know, gender is something that we have created. And this is where we're having these now ongoing conversations as a UK society about whether people can change gender, because people link it. Yes, sorry, go on, Ella.
Sorry, Will, but don't you, when you think about these things, don't you take layers? So you think about gender, then age, then, for example, location, interest, upbringing. So you don't just take one thing, you take multiple layers of demographics and psychographics factors into consideration.
Okay, so I guess my question would be to you, and I agree, you're absolutely right. There's always, the more data points you have, the better, number one. The second thing is, why would you care about demographics? Why would age matter at all?
Well, it does. How much money they've got, because age, as you said.
But if I was born into a rich family and I'm 15, I might have more money than someone that's working at 30.
That's
so
an outlier. That's an anomaly, is it?
But I guess one of the things that happened, and you're absolutely right, by the way, I'm just arguing for the sake of like pushing it. The reality is with demographics is it ignores that society changes.
Yeah.
All of our data is on the past, whereas psychographic tends to focus on the behavior we can see now and the way that it's changing within culture. And that's the big change. The only reason we keep doing demographics is because it's cheap and easy to do. And that's why people like Facebook are worth a fortune, because they can predict your behavior from how you act on Facebook. They don't care about your age, they care about what photos you like and things like this. So I did some work with a loan company, and they were being sold a system by someone as a subset of Facebook, who, if you applied for a loan and gave them your Facebook ID, they could predict whether you would pay that loan back on your behavior. So they would look at who you're linked to, all the events you've got. So even the events in life. And this is it. Demographics is very old fashioned. We cling to it because we think it's true and it has a single truth. The reality is psychographics is where we need to be, but it's very hard to measure. So the middle ground, as you rightly pointed out, is a blend. But I guess what I'm saying to you guys is, if you want to turn an idea into a business and you want to think about how do I define my target market, start with psychographics, please, if you can. Target people that like netball, or target people that go Saturday shopping in Glasgow town centre, because that is more likely to be your target market. There might be other factors that might say, well, I'm not going to target 3-year-olds, or I'm not going to target this, because as you say, broadly, 3-year-olds don't have any money. It's not, so that might be a different way. So that's a different approach. And I guess that's what I'm trying to push, is that, our job here as part of the enterprise team is to challenge what you think and push you further on. And psychographics are a brilliant way to move into that sort of new territory. So hopefully we've got our market identified. We've identified who they are and what they are, and we've tied that in. And so we've got all of this knowledge. And one of the tricks to do is to simplify it by putting it into what we talk about as a customer profile. Now, again, I'm still sticking with B2C here, so people that are selling to customers or consumers. When you come to put business proposals together, when you come to enter competitions, this will help you. This is what we're looking for. And so rather than targeting people that like shopping on a Saturday, what we like to do is something called personifying them. We want to put a picture of someone that represents that person. Why do you think we want to turn it into a person rather than just talking about it in an abstract way?
Easier to deal with, isn't it?
Totally. It's easier to deal with and it's easier to sell. Okay. And that's where people give their dogs personality, their chairs, their cars, all of these sorts of things. Because if my car is a Henry or my vacuum cleaner is a Henry, it feels an easier conversation. So what you should be doing is taking your target market and trying to turn it into a person or persons or group of people that represent your approach. And as we've mentioned there, you can combine the two. What are they and who are they? What you might do is just create one page like this that has 2 or 3 demographics, 2 or 3 psychographics, and then you would move on to what they hate and what they enjoy. Why do we care about what they hate? Why is that almost the most important thing on this piece of paper?
I think it reminds me of the pain and gain model. So you need to think about the pain so you can flip it and see how you can relieve or lessen that pain for them.
Fantastic. But why do we care about their pain though?
Came with a lot of whys today, Will.
Yeah. Well, we did the 5 whys last time. So why do we care about people's pain? Okay.
Yeah, because we'll sell better if we show them that we are going to relieve the pain.
Fabulous. If I can answer their pain, they're going to buy it from me. Full stop. Within reason. There's always within reason. But if I can answer their problem, they will buy it from me. If I can't answer their problem, then that's an issue. I think I talked about last time around, with why do we have ring pulls on cans in the UK? And part of that is the pain of finding a can opener was awful. So rather than like being linked to can openers and never being able to find them and all of that, companies just paid a bit more money to have a ring pull. And people now will go out their way to buy tins with ring pulls rather than buy ones that have a can opener. And that becomes a thing. So sometimes the hate things can be additional to what you're selling, but sometimes it can be fundamental to your problem. So my umbrella company might be, people hate when they go shopping and they're never quite sure what the Scottish weather is doing, or they hate carrying around coats when they're trying to shop. My free umbrella idea does that for them. A fundamental truth, now it's not really a fundamental truth, a rule of thumb in marketing, business development, if you can sell something that solves a problem, people love it, they will buy it, but they will forget about it very quickly. So if you go, well, I'm going to do this thing for you, it becomes normal. So a great example is something called the Kano model. And it's this idea that if you go to a shop now that doesn't have Wi-Fi or somewhere that doesn't have Wi-Fi, it's really annoying. Whereas it used to be a pleasure, but now it's become a factor. So Wi-Fi becomes a normal thing and you can't charge any more for it. Having to charge for it's difficult. So what you have is you have things they hate. So we have to have Wi-Fi or whatever it might be, but then you have things that are pleasurable. Now, the hate things you have to do and people will pay a price for. The pleasurable things, the things that make people happy, they will pay a lot more money for and will keep coming back to. But again, they get used to it. So if I can do this thing, so if I say, well, my umbrellas are free because you don't have to carry everything around and you don't have to worry about the weather. But the pleasure is if you drop it back into a basket, you get a 10% off at that shop. That then creates a different dynamic in how we're doing things. So the reason I'm showing you this approach is that when you come to putting your idea together, this is what you almost distill it into, this pen portrait that gives you your target consumer or customer that then sits within your model, sits within your marketplace and understands that. So that's sort of the approach that we're going for. I've only got like two more slides. I'll just keep going rather than give you a break and you can all be released onto a great Friday and enjoy yourselves. But so I know Ella understands this, so we'll come on to the next part. So maybe some other people. One of the things to think about, so we thought about who we're going to sell to, who's our marketplace. The next thing we need to think about is what is our model? How do we go about selling this stuff? Historically, we've done things called single sales. So you would sell something, people would buy it off you, give you one lot of money, use it until it breaks and then buy another one. What's the challenge with that model, the single sale model, that you sell it once, when it breaks or is used up, they replace it? How many times do I make money in that approach?
Well, you make money once, but it's better if you use, the blade and razor model. Yes.
So a single sale. So we'll come on to the razor blade model in a minute. Single sales, you make the money once. Fabulous. That's great. But then you have to constantly advertise to get someone back. And this is where you see like Coca-Cola and companies like that, they are effectively marketing companies because they constantly have to advertise for you because you're thirsty, you buy a Coke, you drink the Coke, right? Next time you're thirsty, you don't automatically buy a Coke or you don't pay them a subscription or anything like that. So they have to constantly advertise. So single sale models work if you're in an industry where marketing is really important. So a lot of food companies, things like that. And we'll come on to the razor blade model as part of a we'll talk about it now. So there is one, as we've quite rightly been pointed out, there's something called the razor blade model. And what that is it's for those that you don't know, companies sell something. So they sell like a razor blade handle, very cheap, with some starter razor blades for your shaving. And then what it means is it locks you into a system. So when you want to replace those razor blades, you now have to pay a lot more money from them for those razor blades. The model exists in the games console market. So they will sell PS5s and things at cost price because they make the money from the games. They do it in the razor market. And the famous one, although it's disappearing now, is the printer market. You could buy a printer for not a lot of money, but then the ink would cost more than petrol and like to fill it up. It was insane. So what they do is try and lock you in. And this is a step on from the single sale. I will sell you something, but by buying that thing, you buy into what's known as an ecosystem. Interestingly, Apple do this a lot. They want you to buy an Apple iPhone because then suddenly it works with everything else. And what you do is you end up in the Apple ecosystem because everything just works. Right, I need some new headphones. Right, I'll buy some AirPods because I know it will just work. So you have single sales, and then you have single sales that become this razor blade model. So that's two ways of making money. These are some things that have been developed as well. These concepts are called product as a service and software as a service. So product as a service is something that has always existed, but only now has been called this. And what it means is when you buy a product, you can one of two things happens. Number one is you never own it. So all you're doing is leasing it. Okay. So if you've got a brand new car out the front and you don't own it and you have a PCP, that is effectively a product as a service. If you stop paying for that service, the product disappears. The benefit to this is, for the customer point of view, it's less money up front. The benefit to the business is I'm going to get money for a much longer time. And at the end of it, they'll either upgrade to a new product or I get the product back, so I make money out of it. So product of a service is, you see it in cars, and we're starting to see it in like a range of things where there's an argument that we're going to get to a world where we don't own anything. Everything that we have is leased because it automatically allows us to upgrade to new things. It gives businesses a consistent form of money approach. Allied to this, so that's one way of doing it, which is you only lease something. The other option, and it's something we're starting to see in the home market especially, is you sell a product, but you have services bundled alongside it that can sell you money. Can make you money, sorry. So I've got a new dishwasher and my dishwasher comes with an app. And it means for me, I can set my dishwasher to run between midnight and 4 AM when it's cheapest electricity. It keeps me up to date with things and I can pay for premium services. So 5 years ago, I would have just got a single sale. I would have paid Bosch that money for a dishwasher and that was it. Now, not only have I bought a dishwasher off them, I'm now using their app. They've got the potential to sell me other stuff, but they also can sell my data to someone else. So they have another revenue stream. And this is what we're seeing more and more, is you don't just sell a pen, you sell a wirelessly connected pen or a toothbrush. You can get Bluetooth toothbrushes that tell you when to brush, what your brushing is like, all of this. So the product now incorporates a service into it. So again, if you've got an idea, you might want to think about, am I selling it once or can I sell it as a product, attach services onto it so I have another revenue stream? The extension of this is something called software as a service. Basically, all software manufacturers are pretty much moved to this model. The days of buying a CD or a DVD or a download have gone. You pay them a monthly subscription or a yearly subscription and you get to use it. If you do not pay them, it gets withdrawn. Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, Netflix, all of this stuff, you don't own any of it. You rent it off them as a software, it's hosted in a cloud. Again, it's a different business model. Freemium. Freemium's another model that you might think about for your idea, which is where you give it away for free, but if you want to do some extra stuff, then you will pay a little bit of money for it. So you might be able to unlock different approaches. And the final one is just a pure subscription, that you just have a set amount of money that you link to throughout it. So when you come to this approach, once you've got your target market, you then need to think about, right, I understand how they behave and how do I target them? Do I just have a subscription and do we have this? And what we found is like people's behavior absolutely influences this. So you will see that people were more prepared to pay a monthly fee for something than to pay for it either on demand or one-offs. So people are more likely to buy insurance over the year as an approach. So understanding the psychographic behavior of those people, are they people that are going to save up and buy something as a one-off, or are they more likely to want to upgrade in time? So your model must link back then to your psychographic approach. My final thing that I'm going to talk about is money. And we've sort of gotten to this part and it's sort of been assumed that we're going to make money out of everything. Okay, let's start with a little quiz. Top left-hand corner, which one is the better pen? There's 2 pens there, which is the better one? It's 50-50.
You can't really say, but based on their price, you can tell the £10 is the better one.
Why?
Because the higher the price, you believe the more quality the pen is and probably the more ink and everything it has.
Fantastic. Well done. It's a really obvious thing, but you think, well, the £1 one, and you've got a £10 one, the £10 one's probably not 10 times as good, but it's probably going to be better. If you bought the £1 one and it broke after 3 days, you wouldn't think anything of it. If you bought the £10 one and it broke after 3 days, you would take it back. And this is what's known as price signaling. When you decide a price on your idea, what you charge for it signals its quality, as we've just identified there. So without knowing anything else, the £10 one, we believe is better than the £1 one. Whether that's true or not doesn't matter. What is the perception? So if I was to take you out for a £5 meal or a £500 meal, you would probably expect the £500 meal to be better. It might not be, but that's what you expect. So when it comes to money, you're going to be building forecasts on your product. If you want yours to be a premium product, price it accordingly. Price it for more money, because you might have the best product in the world and try and give it away for free, and no one wants it because they think there's something wrong with it. So pricing is really important. And that leads on to sort of the top right, special offers. One of the biggest mistakes that we see with people moving their idea into a business plan is they price it too low and then put the price up in the future. What's the problem with that? If I put the price up from £1 to £10 in the future of my pen, what's the challenge around that?
Might lose customers.
Okay, we might. Why would we lose customers?
Just because people don't want to pay more than what they've been paying.
Okay, so if I take you out for dinner and we go out for dinner to the same place and we eat exactly the same food every week, and we go in and it was £5 every week, and then the next week it's £10, would that lose them the customer?
I think it depends, because like right now with Netflix going up in prices and all that and things changing with that, I've seen a lot of people online saying about how they'll lose customers and stuff like that. So I think it depends on what the product and service is, what it is that they're selling.
Yep.
If it was food and it went up slightly, then I don't think that would change my mind too much. But if it was like a product that I'd previously been paying cheaper for and it went up a good amount, then I probably wouldn't pay for that again.
Okay. So does anyone go on?
Okay, I think like if I'm paying previously £5 for an item and I went back and I'm paying £10, I'll feel rip off. I'll feel if it's worth £5, why am I paying extra money for it? Like it's like ripping me off. So I'll better not take that. So that's
Brilliant. Thank you. That's fantastic. Why? So it's actually psychology. Because what it is you feel like you've been taken for a fool, because either it was £5 and now just they're charging £10. Well, it's still the same product. It might not be, but it feels it's the same product. The other alternative is that you feel that they're taking advantage of your nature and you get treated like a fool, an idiot, because they're like, oh, they've just doubled the price for me. So you avoid being treated like an idiot. So one of the things that you do is when you take your idea and turn it into a business, rather than feeling like they're trying to rip you off, which is a great example of it, put in a really high price and reduce it down using special offers. Okay, so we've all done it. Sorry, I will say I've done it. I assume you may have done it. You've gone and bought something and they've said it's £100 down to £25. You go, brilliant, I've saved £75. Well, no, I've actually spent £25 I wasn't going to spend in the first place. And if I go in the following week, it's still at the same price. And you see it with companies like Sports Direct, DFS, all of them always have sales on. And you always think, oh, I'm getting a bargain. And what you're doing is taking that psychology and turning it around. You're thinking, I'm the smart consumer. I'm not paying full price. Okay, fabulous. So TK Maxx, all of those companies, Tesco's Club Card, all of this, charge higher and then knock the price down to other people based on that. And you feel cleverer. So sometimes there's a psychology at work when it comes to pricing your product. And the reason that pricing and money is really important is, one, it's a signal of quality. Number two, it is harder to put your prices up. As we see at the moment, people are having to put their prices up, and it happens. And number three is when you put the finances together for your business idea, you should be able to grow your business over time. So one thing I would say is be ambitious. Always try to grow your business more than you ever think you can. Why do you think we ask for a 5-year business plan when, I think Kieran said earlier, even in 3 years, we've totally changed our belief systems? So why do we ask for a 5-year business plan from people, or a 3-year business plan?
I think if you're starting a new business and you have to have like a business plan where you want your business or your company to work in the next year. If your business is really growing, then definitely your 5-year business plan would have achieved so much. Like you're not stagnant. If it's a profitable business, you definitely grow like out of your comfort zone, and you definitely grow financially and so much more.
And why do we need to grow? Because that's a really interesting point. Again, sorry, with the wise, but why do we need to grow? Why can't we just make £10,000 a year every year? I scared everyone. Well, there's two reasons. So go on.
Yeah, I think it has to do with aspiration and to fund whatever you have. So growth will, because with the revenue stream, you need to put some money back into the business. So if you don't have growth, you'll get out of business.
Fantastic. Anyone else?
I think growth in business, like it expands the brand. Like you create like some empowerment, some what they call it, some you help the economy, stuff like that. Like create empowerment, like employment, you employ more people and all those stuff. Like it boosts the economy, so that's fine.
Brilliant. Yes. So there's lots of things in there. Number one, if we go back to this idea of the pen being £1 or £10, and it signals the quality, you having a business plan that goes from 0 to £1 million in 5 years signals your ambition. It also signals that you're looking to reinvest and grow. And fundamentally, what you are saying is any money that is put into this will get a brilliant return on investment. We are going to grow this business. So remember, return on investment. We're coming back to the beginning. We're putting this money into a business to turn it into more money. Fundamentally, that's what you need to prove. And the reality is, if you cannot prove that, or if you cannot predict that, then you're better off staying in bed. There's no point putting a business plan that doesn't give you amazing return on investment. The flip side to that is if it's silly, if it's ridiculous, you're going to be Elon Musk within 3 years, then people will laugh at you. But your business plan or your business idea, when you turn it into a business, be really ambitious. Go from nothing to £500,000 in 3 or 4 years. As we mentioned earlier, 3 years is a very long time. The reality is most people don't hit their business targets ever. So all we're doing is signaling our ambition and signaling how much return on investment we might get. So we've talked about the market, we've talked about the models, and we've talked about the money. And they're the sort of 3 major ways that you can take your idea and turn it into sort of a business effectively at the end. Anyone got any questions? I know we've sort of gone around the houses and touched on gender and generations and things. No, that's good. Okay, well, we've just stunned you into silence. You don't want to be asked why. So, and so the final thing to sort of like sum up really is I was going to get Emma to talk about what we can offer to help you guys for your university and life really, and go from there. Emma?
Yeah, so we've probably spoke about it before, and I'm always sending out emails and things like that. But we have our Student Innovation Hub, which is our new website. It's got loads of different resources, loads of different information for you to access. We've got our workshops and events, so we're constantly hosting events, workshops throughout the year. So we've got a page dedicated to that you can go on and see what we've got available. We've got our business startup support as well. So when you're starting up your business, there's a range of resources there, all different stages of your business that you can access. There's loads of videos, information, business plan templates, finance sheets, loads of different things that you can go on and look at. We also have our competitions as well. So online, you'll be able to view our internal competitions, which is our Kickstart competitions. Right now, we currently have applications opened for our business idea competition, which is going to be a £10,000 cash pot up for grabs. You can enter with just an idea, and you can enter with a business that you're developing that's at the kind of early stage. So it's definitely a great competition to go on and enter with your idea. We also have funding available as well, which is a new thing that we've got. It's a UWS business seed funding, and that's up to £5,000 grants that you can apply for. So basically, to be able to apply for this, you have to have entered the Kickstart programme. So that's the workshops or competition or accelerator programme, or you can be involved with the London Incubator, the Paisley Incubator, or the Lanarkshire Incubator. The Paisley and Lanarkshire Incubators are not open just yet, so those are kind of ruled out just now. But if you want to apply, you can enter the Kickstart stuff or the London Incubator programme. So got that. Also our social media channels. I'll just share some links in the chat box. We've got loads of different things going on there as well, external opportunities as well as our internal UWS stuff. So you can just follow our channels and keep up to date with anything that's going on. And yeah, I think that's it from me. I don't know if Will, you've got anything else to add to it, or
is there a recording of the 3-minute pitch notes?
So I've actually included some examples of pitches from last year. So because they're pre-recorded, you just film yourself talking about your business idea. Is that what you're talking about, Craig? Is that?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so on the web page, there'll be a link to our previous competition winners who submitted pitches, so you can go on and have a look and figure out what they've done. We've also got a pitching guide, which is a document that just tells you what to include, what not to include, and some tips and stuff as well.
And I think the other thing to say is, I said it last time, if you want to talk just about something, we can make an appointment. If you email like Emma or myself, and we can make an appointment, or there's other people. If you don't like me, that's fine. If I ask why too much. But also, if you've just got an idea that you're not sure what to do with, or things like that, the reality is we've got lots of things that we're doing, so we have limited amounts of time, but we can book you in with one of the team and we can do that. Our job is to help you guys become more enterprising or set up businesses or anything like that. So, and we get nothing out of it. We're just here to help you. So We love it. And again, if there's anything that I've talked about today that you want to know more about or you disagree with, absolutely come and tell me. It's always interesting, or anything like that. We're always open to it and quite useful. And as Emma said, the fact that we've now got grant funding for seed capital is brilliant. I think it's, you know, we want to give it away. We don't, you know, it doesn't go to our end of year party or anything like that. It's already there for the, you know, you guys to use. So that's fantastic.
And just to touch on the funding, the good thing as well is it's not, you don't need to pay it back or anything. It's an actual grant. So that money's yours to spend on your business. So don't worry about having to make repayments or anything like that.
There's not many places you get offered free money. That's fantastic. We're not allowed it either. So hope you enjoyed it. As I say, any questions, any feedback, let us know.